But there are still issues in some countries that I am surprised about. The German results show that it is the higher social classes that are more worried about issues like social benefits and poverty. That actually did surprise me, because people who are in precarious circumstances are worried and feel threatened by all sorts of things. And in that case, in that particular country, we found that it's actually the classes or the layer of society that is better off, that is worried about such things as their social benefits and poverty. Mm-hmm. And you might think they need to worry least about it. Another thing that surprised me was a result from the Netherlands, and it was the only country among the 10 we surveyed that this year among the top worries was transport, and that was very unusual.
It's strange.
Is there anybody from the Netherlands who can
asking everybody to give me a hypothesis on that?
Yeah.
The west of the Netherlands is completely stuck with the traffic down there, so it affects everyone's life. So every day is a struggle to get to work. Mm-hmm. So I think that will affect the order of these topics.
Mm-hmm. And what do newspapers do exactly with this story? Are they just writing about it, or they are trying to change it, or I don't know, push the local governments to fight with it? Has anybody launched, I don't know, any campaign trying to change it? I don't know. For example, you know, I can imagine that as a newspaper, I can try to help people. We were, for example, trying to check 2 weeks ago, how much time do you really need to reach two parts of for example, of the same city with different sorts of transports? And we were trying to show that maybe the government should really disallow people to travel by cars in certain parts of the city, because it would be much more effective to use a totally different transport.
I haven't seen much of these features. I've only seen it once. An editor who goes to work by 5 means, by motor, by bus, by train, and he reports what goes fastest. So, but that's very uncommon to see in the newspapers.
It's still unusual that the top worry in a country is transport, because if I look around, if I go to any city in Europe, I would find congested streets, and London, for example, if it has even a congestion tax. So transport is not a uniquely Dutch problem. So that surprised me, because it's an issue in other countries as well. And another thing that I found in the Dutch data that maybe you can shed some light on, it was the only country that had among the top worries something like values and morals. And that I found quite amazing and quite interesting. And maybe you as a native from that country have an idea on why the Dutch are worried about something that all other Europeans are apparently not. Because some mega trends of society that all of Europe, all of the country worldwide have to worry about, it's not unique to the Dutch. So why are the Dutch worried about it? What is that? Does that maybe say something about their value system?
Oh, it's a very difficult topic. I've only private ideas about it, but it looks like what you told half an hour earlier in Poland. All the great things to achieve have been achieved, and I think everyone is having his personal dreams, but they're not collective things anymore. So it's very hard to have common goals. So that's the whole focus on these morale. What do we have in common? People are having trouble finding what they have in common.
And do newspapers try to find such an idea? What can be the cause that will be the goal for the Netherlands?
I don't know. I have no journalistic background.
No,
so
but you read your newspaper.
Yeah, that's why.
Have you found such a story about it in your newspaper?
I think so, but it's not. There's not a program, fixed program from newspapers to cover it in a certain way, in a certain fixed manner. It's just.
So they are not providing solutions; they are just, reporting. Yeah. Do you understand?
That's true. Yeah.
Okay. Please, can you tell me something about yourself, because you live in Austria, and what are you personally concerned about?
Well, what I'm personally concerned about is actually all sorts of things like everybody else as a citizen, and having had elections a couple of days ago, I'm very tempted to talk about that. But in fact, I'm as an individual person not much of a critical mass. Your interest is in society and the media, and I would rather like to see something about that, what I find worrisome, and what we should watch out as individuals as well as media people, is that society, and we all are part of it, the people do not lose sensitivity
What do you mean?
to be sensible to what's going on in the society, that we should not come too complacent, that we should still be greedy for knowledge and not take it for granted. But this
is your appeal, or is it the fact?
That's what I worried about, that we might lose it because we are becoming spoiled societies, and we take it for granted that we have information available, we take it for granted that we have a choice of media, and we take it granted a certain standard of living, and it actually is not. So part of the task of the media as well as of citizens might be, that's just one idea that you might want to discuss, is to remain sensitive what's going on around us.
But you know, this is the main job of media. They are just writing about what's going on around us. So
good to hear.
Sorry?
Good to hear. Good
to hear. But you don't find it in your newspapers in Austria, such stories?
Well, we have newspapers and newspapers, and luckily we have choices. And anybody in this country who wants to be informed can be informed. And that is actually a privilege, that we have access to information, and we should not forget using it.
What sort of sensitivity do you find in your newspapers in Austria?
If you are worried about it.
Well, the sensitivity to populism, for example.
But what do you mean?
We are a democratic society, and we take it for granted. We are one of the richest countries in the world, and we take it granted. I think we are pretty spoiled.
In many ways, are the newspapers doing something to, find some, I don't know, ways to engage the communities and to link people, to link the society?
I think so, but there are, of course, different approaches of different newspapers.
And do you think that such a research as you showed, where you can find information, what kind of main concerns are, for example, of people in Austria, can be used by newspapers to try to cover these stories and to link people, in fact, about solving these issues?
Well, I think first it's good to do research, not just because I'm working in research, but I believe in knowledge as opposed to beliefs. And people should rather act, if they have the choice, and we do, to act on knowledge rather than on beliefs. The slide you showed that it goes in the other direction of the number of stories shown, proves the point that we are all tempted, obviously, to act upon our beliefs, and knowledge might go in the other direction. And we have the privilege to have knowledge and have access to knowledge. And of course, I'm biased working in research. Of course, I would recommend you should use research. But I also do really believe it, that knowledge is superior to beliefs only.
But because you had the social research department in Austria and GfK, so you are responsible for all the social researches in this company. How many assignments do you get from media to check something in the society? Not about the product, about the society.
Well, actually, the way GfK is structured, it has media research departments in their own right. It's a separate research units and large research units for that matter. And
but they are researching, I understand, newspapers as a product and media.
Not just. I mean, if you sell yogurt or shirts or glass or whatever, that's the product. If you sell newspaper, you can't say the product is some sheets of paper. The product is inseparable from the content. So where does the product start and the content end, and the other way around?
What about their asking? No, what do your clients?
The researchers? Well, it's both. It's as well as do the media reach their audiences and which target groups, and it's also about contents, obviously. Which contents are of interest, which contents are of interest in the media, in what kind of coverage. So one doesn't go without the other. You cannot separate the content from the product, because in your business, in the newspapers, content is part of the product.